Millions have lost their livelihoods in India and the world, as 2020 brought with it a crisis no one could have imagined. The worst hit have been the most vulnerable, those on the borderline who have been pushed out. It is they who need the most help. At Social Venture Partners, leaders from across the globe have been working together for 2 decades to help bridge the gap and transform lives. The mission is to help create 1 million livelihoods by 2022 by working with organizations committed to change.
Social Venture Partners has one important mission globally, which is to bring equity back into the world. Because there is so much of divisiveness and factionalism that's happening in every part of the world, that we really believe that we should do our bit to make equity happen, get othering out of the phenomenon that we see everywhere, and bring more inclusion in the world.
The issue of creating sustainable livelihoods is the biggest concern across the world today, and in India, it is at a crisis point. To address this, SVP works on 2 aspects: funding social ventures that are creating jobs and working with them to scale up and build capacity. Often, it's a combination of the 2. This is led by the various chapters of SVP spread across the country.
I'm personally very proud of 2 things in SVP India, particularly over the last 3 years. We've seen every one of our city chapters focused on growth. Growth in impact, growth in the community we serve, and growth in the number of partners who are engaged in a common agenda. I'm also very proud of the fact that we are now seriously looking at engaging youth into our venture, because it's young minds, young spirit, young philanthropic efforts that will make all the difference. So I think these 2 for me are extremely important aspects of the brotherhood and the partnership that we have built and will continue to build going forward.
SVP is driven by 7 city chapters spread across India. The team is young and ambitious, and it has been able to scale up the reach and impact, allowing philanthropists to really drive change. SVP's journey in Kolkata started over 2 years back, and the key focus here has been on helping create sustainable livelihoods and inclusive employment that is not just focused on women, but also the differently abled individuals.
During the last 2 years, the Kolkata chapter has tried to do some great work in creating sustainable livelihoods. We have worked with 5 NGOs, 3 relationships which are already in their 2nd year, and 2 relationships which have just begun. These are Literacy India, Sukalyan Welfare Society, Mitti Cafe, Kadam, and Anahat for Change Foundation. The numbers at the end of 2021 would be over 600 impacted sustainable livelihoods. An association that we are extremely proud of is the one with Mitti Cafe. Having met Alina in Bangalore and having just had a coffee table discussion with her about bringing Mitti to Calcutta and actually seeing it turn into reality has been a dream come true. Alina has been featured in the Forbes Under 30 this year and has also received the Helen Keller Award.
Mitti Cafe is new for me and liked.
SVP found Mitti Cafe 3 years ago when they were 1 cafe, 1 month and 3 employees old. And they are giving a chance of livelihood to those who really need it the most.
Our first employee was this girl who came in crawling for the interview because at that point of time her parents could not afford a wheelchair. It's been 3 years for that girl. Today, sitting on her wheelchair, she manages 7 other people with disability. She is the manager for our first cafe. Her name is Kirti, and at Mitti we have hundreds of Kirtis who've been trained and employed by us in our various cafes. The aim is not 1 Kirti but 1 billion Kirtis. In the last 3 years, we've been able to serve 5 million meals across our 12 cafes. This would be several more million that will enable us to create awareness about inclusion, where our dream of making the world believe in the power and the magic of abilities would come true. Not for our Kirti, but for the billion Kirtis, who have one or the other physical, intellectual, or psychiatric disability across the world.
SVP has not just helped MITI scale, it has also helped it add a new dimension to the work it has been doing during the current pandemic. MITI has provided 7 lakh meals to daily wage workers. Meanwhile, Kadam, another not-for-profit supported by SVP Kolkata, focuses on rural entrepreneurship. It does so by training these communities that are skilled in creating products from locally available material.
More than 6,000 lives we have touched with our trainings. 600 artisans who are currently working with us. So the last mile in terms of the market linkage was a challenge for us to ensure the trainings do not go waste, especially after they have learned how to make marketable, quality, deliverable on time, product delivered on time. Those skills they had taken on. With the Kolkata chapter, the discussion started about a year ago. And they were very open to offer and fill in that need which we had for our organization, and not have a rigid format for us to fit in, And so they offered this last mile, which we really needed for all the trainings to be successful, 100%.
SVP chapters across India have helped over 50 NGOs scale and create livelihoods. This impact has been made possible because of another important element.
SVP leans heavily on the experience of the business leaders who act as chairs of each of our city chapters. Our chairs and partners are leaders who have made a mark in the corporate world and bring along their wealth of experience and best practices from there.
For the business leaders themselves, the journey with SVP has been personal.
One of the things that I find most satisfying about being involved with SVP Mumbai is when we see our NGOs flourish as a result of the efforts put in by our partners. Our diverse partner group have skills in so many different areas, and they apply those skills to improve the outcomes at our NGOs, and I think that that's a great reward for both the NGO and the partners.
What appealed to me was it is an involved philanthropy. Philanthropy, by just writing a check and forgetting about it, doesn't end in itself. It's not an end in itself. Getting involved in bigger impact, so that the NGOs that are working on ground can be more effective, more far-reaching, and create more bigger impact. I think that is the concept that SVP is working on, and that is what appealed to me, and that is why I think I got involved fully in SVP.
After 6 years, I can say that what I'm proud of is the fact that we have helped crack some fairly elusive problems and create success stories for them. Be it agriculture, where we have demonstrated that we could triple farmer incomes in a 3 to 5 year time frame, or disability, where we have proven that livelihoods and disability do not diverge and in fact go hand in hand. And we are creating new models for livelihoods related to environment as well.
The blessings and good wishes that you get from the NGOs and beneficiaries are my source of inspiration, and I feel the most valuable possession that I have. It is indeed a very humbling and enriching experience. Wish I had not waited till my retirement from the corporate sector to be part of this wonderful SVP family. When you work with other like-minded partners, and then you see the joy in a blind young woman who gets a really good job, or the confidence of a poor, uneducated woman to stand in front of a large audience and give a speech, or you see a family of a sex worker rehabilitated, that joy is also an order of magnitude. So this is a wonderful, thrilling journey. I do feel that I'm learning a lot more myself than I'm giving.
I'm a part of SVP because I can engender change ethically and alongside some of the finest people on this earth.
SVP has been a gratifying journey from understanding the minds of donors to using skill sets and networks to help NGOs function effectively.
I've been a partner at SVP Pune since its inception almost 5 years ago. I think SVP, the chapter here, has been able to do many wonderful things and has had a huge impact. If I think of the two largest impacts that it has had, is really creating livelihoods for the most vulnerable of our population in the city. SVP has also looked at what gaps are existing, for example, healthcare workers, which are in need across the city in smaller hospitals and clinics, as well as in large medical organizations. And those gaps have been so effectively and adequately filled by SVP's initiatives.
When a partner walks up to me and says, "I've loved engaging with this NGO, I feel I've learned a lot, and I feel I want to do much more in the sector." That to me is the most satisfying moment for me at SVP. What's equally satisfying is when an NGO walks up to me and says, I know that we finished our 3 years with you as SVP, but I'd like your partners to continue engaging with us. As I take on the mantle of the chairperson for SVP India, I have a huge responsibility ahead of me. SVP has been built on the foundation of strong contributions by Ravi Venkatesan and Ganesh Natarajan as prior chair people. It's very important that I build on that foundation and really make impact across India, across our 7 chapters, and taking that to even a larger pan-India focus.
The success of SVP has been driven by a clear vision, backed by passion and a meticulous game plan. SVP chapters have leveraged the learnings from the best practices adopted for corporate success and used it to build capacity and scale in NGOs, which are the change agents on ground. This strategy has helped SVP across the world, and never has the need for it been so clear as it is today.
What I love about SVP and why I stay engaged is that I think we have fundamental ingredients around how to go about social change. One is that we do it together, recognizing that we're more powerful as a collective than we are as individuals. Another is that it's about giving money plus other resources. Partners are giving time and using their skills and their voices to influence change as well. And third, that we're always learning. We approach problems knowing we don't have all the answers. And I believe that the secret sauce to SVP is those partnerships we have in our communities with nonprofit leaders and our proximity to learning about what's happening on the ground that makes all of us not only better givers, but more aware and better human beings.